Avery Hill. How are you?
Hello. Hello. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Now, you look like you may have just moved into a new place.
I have, yes, I have conveniently positioned myself so that you do not see all the boxes over here
Okay.
in my living room behind me. Yes, we just moved apartments and it's been a really good move, but and like I'm very excited for where we are, but as anybody who has moved will tell you it's quite the ordeal.
It is. It is, because I usually there's like a nice painting or something back there, but
I
you do
know.
have quite a light switch. You've got a nice light switch
Oh
there.
well, but don't forget my cuckoo clock
Oh, the
because
cuckoo clock.
it's a
Oh,
cuckoo
okay. That's
clock.
cool.
That's
I
that's
like
that's
that.
about that's about all that I've been able to unpack. That's not true.
Well, one thing at a time, one thing at a time.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
you'll be at the Ashokan Ukulele Weekend.
I know. I'm so excited. My first time too.
Yeah, you'll love it there. I mean, you're up in the Pacific Northwest as it is,
Yes.
and I think this will make you feel at home with the woods and the
Oh,
water
absolutely.
and
Well, and I forget if you know this, but I was born in New York. I was born on Long Island. And
oh,
used to
okay.
go up to the Adirondacks every summer with my dad. So it is very much, it will very much feel like a homecoming for me.
Yeah, yeah. Well, good, good.
Yeah.
Well, for those people out there who haven't met you before, haven't interacted with you, I think most of your festivals you've done have been more on the west
On the
side
West
of
Coast.
the
Oh yeah.
country.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, why don't you tell people a little bit about yourself, like how you got started on the ukulele and um you're doing all
Absolutely.
kinds of great teaching and everything. So let us
Yeah.
know a little
Yeah.
bit about that.
Oh my goodness, where to even start the story? Well, I mean, I am a lifelong musician. I grew up with a really supportive family. As I like to say, my dad was great about exposing us to lots of music at festivals and listening to music all the time. And then my mom was the dutiful schlepper to every music lesson and was there at every
Right.
recital. So I grew up in a really musical household and originally took on the guitar. And that was when I first started teaching music. I was teaching guitar to kids. And I was working out of a wonderful nonprofit here in Portland called Artichoke Music. And they noticed that I was teaching kids guitar and asked if I wanted to teach kids ukulele. And I said, well, that's fine. Very comfortable teaching kids. I had a degree in education and had worked in schools a bit,
Oh,
uh,
okay.
but I had no idea how to play the ukulele. And anybody who knows one of the owners at the time, Richard, he said, "Oh, that's okay. You can borrow mine. It's really easy. Class starts in 2 weeks." And I was off and running and was barely a step or two ahead. And there's a lot that translates over from the guitar just fine. But little did I
Sure.
know that it was really going to really alter my whole kind of life's work, so to speak. I still play guitar as a singer-songwriter and perform sort of in that capacity, but I find the ukulele to be just one of the very best instruments, especially for adult music learners, to learn and to find that musician within them. I get a lot of students who say, "Well, I'm not very musical," or "I tried
Right.
something when I was a kid, but it didn't really." And you can believe whatever you want about yourself, but I'm a very strong believer that everybody is a musician, and I find the ukulele to be such a wonderful instrument to tap into that. And then at the same time, it's also a wonderful instrument for exploring so many musical styles in different eras
Yes.
of music history, different musical cultures. It's a very flexible instrument for that kind of learning as well. So I just love it. I really, really enjoy this work I get to do with it.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people, the fact that you had a teaching background anyway, and then you're teaching music and teaching the ukulele specifically now. I think a lot of people think that music, if you're into music, you've got to be, Taylor Swift or whoever. You got to be the person on the
Mm,
stage that's entertaining everybody. And there's so many different avenues that music can take you in, whether it's teaching,
100%.
whether it's hosting festivals, whether it's whatever. And throwing in performing in there while you're at it too.
Right. Well, and
Songwriting,
remember, music was never intended to be like when we go way back to like the beginning of human music, it was really about community and gathering together. You know, you think about a lot of some of the original folk musicians and folk traditions, they were really just about, like getting together down at the Grange or down at the Juke
sure,
Joint or down at the,
sure,
like it was a community practice. It was never a somebody's up on stage and here's the whole fan culture and all
right,
that stuff. That's, I think, a relatively recent a recent development, as well as recorded music. You know, music I think was never meant to be played the same way every single time. But since we now have
absolutely.
recorded music, people think, oh, well, I'm not playing it like the recording. I must be doing it wrong. And that's really also not how music works. So it's,
Well, yeah, certainly in the old days, it was storytelling. It was a way to pass a story along. And as you know, whenever you do that, it changes a little bit
right.
each time,
Every
you know.
storyteller tells it in
Absolutely.
their own way. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that before. That's, yeah. I mean, I always say that the ukulele is the most folk of folk instruments because it brings folks together.
Hmm.
And just what you said, it's the exact same thing. I mean, you get ukulele players together and they just support each other. I mean,
Oh,
you can have like the best player in the world and someone who just started, and they're all working together and everybody's
agreed.
very encouraging of each
Agreed.
other.
Yeah,
And
I not that I know, a ton of communities related to a ton of different instruments, but I will say that in the work that I've done, I have found the ukulele community just to be the most generous with their listening, the most generous with their time and their teaching, and just the nicest folks. I just love it.
absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Well, so you'll be teaching 4 classes or so at Ashokan, and along with each of our teachers, we each teach a variety of classes, and we mix them all up so people get a little bit of everything.
Yeah,
You and I were together at Reno Uke Fest last fall,
correct.
and as a songwriter myself, I appreciate other people's songwriting. And you had this really cool song you wrote about, you wrote it right after John Prine died, who
Yes.
was to me one of the greatest songwriters ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just he wrote those songs that you may have never heard it before, but it's instantly familiar when you hear
Mm-hmm.
it, and
Mm-hmm.
the little twists of phrases and everything,
Mm-hmm.
it'll take some cliche and turn it inside out. And
Yeah. Oh, and the thing I loved about him is he was never afraid to explore somebody else's perspective.
yeah,
I loved the characters that he developed in his
absolutely.
song.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Yeah.
some were very sad characters,
Yeah.
Tom Stone. And but yeah, you wrote this great song. I remember sitting there in the audience going, wow, that's a cool song.
Oh, thanks.
And one of the classes you'll probably be teaching will be a songwriting class.
Oh, great.
And
Yeah.
you find that a lot of ukulele players, well, they hear all these songs and they've got to play this certain song by Jason Mraz or something, which is fine. But you say everybody's a musician. Can everybody also be a songwriter?
Oh, yeah. And the thing that I mean, if you want to, let's remember
Yeah, well,
songwriting is just
absolutely.
one medium of creativity, right? I mean, I think anybody can be if that's the medium they feel drawn to. But just like, we were talking about music is meant for, originally founded for communities and not necessarily for performance. One of the things I really emphasize with my students is that songwriting is a creative endeavor for you first and foremost. Like
Sure.
songs that I have written, I was not thinking about my audience when I wrote them. I was thinking about my experience and my processing of it. You do not ever have to play. The point of writing a song is not to play it for other people.
Right.
It is certainly, that's a great way to share it. And I love hearing what people have discovered for themselves, but that's not really the purpose and the point first, right? The
Right.
first is to write it for yourself and to help yourself make sense. of whatever it is that you're processing or exploring or discovering through the process of the writing.
Sure.
And the sharing part is very valuable, don't get me wrong. There is, but that's just like another side of the art, if you will. That's I would always leave as the next phase after you've worked it through. So I think it's a
Right.
really wonderful way to take something that may feel very disorganized in yourself, and the structures that songs give us, lyrically, musically, arrangement wise, can be a really wonderful set of parameters within which to play around and find some meaning and think like, okay, so here's an organized idea that I can put out there. And that's helped
Yeah.
me organize it for myself too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then if, yeah, and then if you do, I mean, basically it's getting this out of your system, and trying to get some clarity to what you're
Hmm.
thinking, like you said,
Hmm.
organizing your thoughts. But then if someone else can listen to it and go, wow, I can relate to that, or I
Hmm.
can put my own life experiences into that song, you know.
Right. Right.
That's so yeah, and it's not always an easy one to teach songwriting because it's so
No.
idiosyncratic as far as processing that. But
Right. And that was, I mean, that's entirely my fault that I'm teaching this now. Like I've sort of taken it on as a like this is not something that necessarily comes naturally to me, but it's been such a rewarding practice for me, and I can see how rewarding it is for other people. The same way that it's rewarding for folks to discover that inner musician with the ukulele, to then discover their inner voice through songwriting.
sure, sure,
Um, I'm kind of right back at the beginning, right? I'm just a couple steps ahead of you, like, but we're coming together, and I'm
right.
using what experience I have and putting my teaching background to work. Like, how do I take what I know and understand, and how do I make this accessible? Or what's one way to invite people into this? So I'm still relatively new at it, but it's so exciting. And what kind of a teacher would I be if I wasn't giving myself a new assignment as well?
Absolutely,
And on the
absolutely.
learning path. So this has been my learning
Well, too, as
experience.
a teacher, I mean, I find I am learning from the students all the time.
Yeah. Oh, that's why
Um,
I'm in music, is because the learning never
absolutely.
ends. You're just like,
Yeah.
there's no, yeah, you're never done. So that's just
Yeah, yeah.
fun.
Well, and that, I'm looking over some of the song or some of the workshop ideas you gave me.
Yeah.
And I like the idea about like the paperless jam kind of thing because
Oh,
it's
yeah,
so
really.
easy that we all get stuck in our little piece of paper, and we're looking
Yes.
at it and rather
Yeah.
than, you know, uh
Absolutely. And then you look up and you look around and you're just like looking at everybody's foreheads instead of actually at their
yeah,
faces. And you've defeated the
right.
purpose of actually gathering in the first place.
Absolutely.
To a
Part of
certain
that
to a
is
certain degree.
listening to each other.
Yeah.
That's a big part about
Well,
playing in a
can
group.
I tell you a story from my college days? I did not get a degree in music, but I did take a couple of music classes. And one of my favorite classes was when I was studying abroad in Germany. I took a class actually on the songs of Martin Luther. I grew up as a Lutheran, and I
Okay.
had never known that actually Martin Luther was a composer and a songwriter. And
Huh.
so I thought, oh, well, I'll take this. And oh my gosh, it was one of my favorite classes and one of my favorite professors, because she had she had like a very calm demeanor, but just a touch of that like mad professor um, energy to her. And
Right, right, right.
I remember this story about her where she had this hymnal and she was trying to explain to people, there are no songs in this book. There are no songs in this hymnal. This is just a record of the song, and that the song is in us, right? We are the ones who make the music. And so
Oh,
the point of the paperless jam is to remember like the song is here in this space. It's not on the
right,
paper. It's a
right.
very helpful record, but remember again to go back into history, people have been making music long before the technology of paper and books came along. So
Yeah.
we can do this. We can do this,
They
folks.
okay. Yeah, they didn't have four score and all that back in the
Correct.
1800s, 1700s.
Right.
The
Right.
cavemen. cave people. So,
Yeah.
well, so that's cool. I like that. And the some of the other ones you've put a song selection around certain topics.
Hmm.
Um, and I like you've got everything from spirituals to civil rights, which
Hmm.
is so important then and now. Um, and Harry Belafonte, who I played in a world beat band, and we did a lot of calypso stuff. So we
Hmm.
were always doing
Oh,
Harry
nice.
Belafonte,
Yeah,
but he was quite a, social warrior too. And
indeed.
then I look at this 80s ladies, and there's so much cool music from that time, with like
Yeah.
Blondie and the Pretenders and whoever
Yes.
else,
Yep. Yep.
Cyndi Lauper, my favorite. And so
Yeah, I just think it's always so fun to, and maybe this is from the songwriting part of my world, like when you put certain parameters around, there's actually a lot of fun you can have within those parameters, and you can go pretty deep. I
oh
think
no,
there's this tendency in our learning to want to go really broad and learn as many songs as possible, or, just like get the breadth and of course that is, quite important, but it's amazing how deep you can go when you say like, yeah, what happens if what can we learn both about history and about culture, but also about music itself by
sure.
diving really deep into this one topic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds like fun.
I can't wait to hear which ones you want to,
I know, I
which
don't know.
tunnel you're going to choose.
I want to take the 80s ladies class.
There you go.
That's a problem is I'm teaching at this too.
Oh,
It's
that's
like
right.
I want to
Oh,
go to
but
all
don't
these
worry, you're the master
classes.
scheduler. You can
Well,
also
that's
schedule
true. I
things
can
so
I
that
can
you
tweak
can
it
make
to
it
my benefit. Yes, yes. So anyway, the Ashokan Uke Fest is Memorial Day weekend. I
Yeah.
can't remember the dates off the top of my head. I think I wrote it down.
Oh, the
Ashokan
20
Ukulele
something to the
Weekend,
20
May
something.
23rd to 25th, right
There you
here.
go. You got
I
it.
have to write this
I'm
down to
right there
keep all
with
these
you.
things straight.
I'm right there
Um,
with you.
but for any of you people out there that have not been to Ashokan, it's just the most beautiful place to have an ukulele
Oh, I know. I
weekend.
can't wait. I just can't
Oh, the
wait.
trees, it's got this cool covered bridge. It's got a waterfall. It's got a place you can go swimming. And the people are just great. We usually get, I've been doing this at Ashoka now for I don't know how many years, 7, 8 years. And we get about half of the people back every year. And
Hmm.
then we always get an influx of new people. And
Oh,
then
that's
they're
so
the people
great.
that start coming back and
Right.
telling other people about it. Good
Awesome.
food. They got a great kitchen there. And
Great.
it's just a real good, it's that communal folk
Yeah.
experience for sure. You're
Wonderful.
gonna love it and you're gonna
Oh,
fit
I
right
know I
in.
am. I know I am.
It's
It's going to be
gonna be
great. I'm
great.
really looking forward to it.
All right. Memorial Day weekend.
See you there.
We'll see you there.
Gotta book those tickets.
Yeah, that's right. Don't forget about that.
No, I
So,
gotta, don't forget that.
all right, Avery, it's great talking to you.
Thank
We'll
you.
see
Great to
you
talk to you too.
before it'll be Memorial Day weekend before we know it. So,
Great. See you
all
there.
right. Talk later. Bye.
Bye.